Welcome back, my friends. I want to do three things with you today. I want to show you something that came in the mail. I want to read to you an email, and I want to share with you something that I share with my church on Sunday for Easter. This just came in the mail. Now, before I open it, I need to tell you what this is. This is swag that I have designed. And designed is a very loose word because it really didn't take much for me to design it. But it's something that's actually meaningful to me. About 3 years ago, I made a drop through Bonfire, and many of you guys have actually seen me wear my own merch. You guys might recall that I have this green crew neck sweater that says Hineni on it, which is some Hebrew characters, right, on this side, and underneath it says "Here I am," because Hineni is the Hebrew word for "Here I am," which is the response that Moses gives to God, Isaiah gives to God, Samuel gives to God, and so on and so forth. Actually, I think I have it here in my office somewhere. Let me see if I can dig it out. Okay, here it is. I do have it here in my office. At least I have a copy of it. This has been a very meaningful thing to me, and the reason I designed it was because when I set off to do this whole social media thing, I just felt this need to be faithful to the creativity that God was calling me to dive into. And I said, Lord, here I am. And that's kind of been my response to God, even in every stage of my life. But what this is a redesign of that crew neck. But instead of making it a crew neck, I decided to just keep it as an oversized t-shirt to match where my brand is right now. So we're going to do this together. Hey, yo. Oh, I love it. Okay, check it out. If you guys been keeping up with my stuff, you'll notice that those are the fonts that lately have been in my videos. All right, so I'm gonna try this on. All right, so what do you guys think? How does it look? Man, I love it. The shirt looks, it's like a different kind of wash, so it looks a little aged. Man, but the shirt is a vibe. Go to my store and buy one. I think you're gonna love it. Number two, the second thing I want to talk with you is I finished the manuscript for my book. So this does not mean that the book is finished. It just means that all the contents, at least like the big part of the writing, is done. And even though I've been in contract with Zondervan for the last 6 months to write the book, I've really been writing this book for almost a year and a half now. When my agent first approached me and we started drafting, and I started writing the initial chapters. So this has been a year and a half journey, and we're still not done yet because now it's submitted, and now my publisher is working through the first round of edits, and the goal is that we will be done with the editing by the end of May. And I should be expecting, at least what Daniel's told me, is that in the next 5, 6, 7, in the next 8 days, I'm going to be receiving my first draft of edits. Now, I want to read to you the email that my publisher, Daniel, sent me. I'm not going to read the whole email to you, but I want you to see how encouraging this email is, to get you excited to read the book also. Alex, congratulations on reaching this milestone. It's a huge step, and I hope you're feeling the sense not just of relief, but of exhaustion, but also accomplishment. I've only read the first couple of chapters and skimmed over the rest of the book to get a sense of what to expect, and you've done amazing work. The care you've taken is evident at so many levels, from the excellent flow of the chapters to the way you've structured the chapters themselves. Love the end of chapter examine, to the relatable and meaningful illustrations and stories you included. More substantive feedback to come, but I just wanted to affirm all of those things in no uncertain terms. You've put together a wonderful book here, and it's only going to get stronger through the editorial process. I'm excited to jump in. And I'm not going to read to you all this other stuff because it might give away a few of the things about the book. But he ends the email by saying, I hope you're able to celebrate this milestone with family and friends this weekend, Alex. It's a huge accomplishment to complete a first draft of an entire book, and I'm profoundly grateful that I get to partner with you to bring this book to readers. There's still a lot of work to do, but you've completed the biggest step of the writing process, and that's worth celebrating. My friends, you guys I have no words to how encouraging that is, because writing this book, at least up to this point, because I'm not done yet, but writing this book has been one of the hardest things I have ever done in my life. When my agent was trying to sell me to publishers, I didn't ask my agent to do this, but the agency that's representing me was selling me as like a Eugene Peterson, this combination of a scholar, but also with a deep shepherd's heart. And while I wouldn't call myself a Eugene Peterson, the fact that my agency approached me to represent me, and that's the way that they're marketing me, is deeply meaningful to me, because I love Eugene Peterson, and for them to see that that's how they see me. But also, Zondervan said that that's how they see me also. And as I wrote the book, oh man, there was just so many moments when I just felt like an imposter. Like, who am I? Why am I writing this book? And, it was so hard to really find my voice. And there was moments when I was like, I don't know how much more I have to say. I feel like I've said it all. And at the end, I remember I submitted it, and there was just radio silence. I didn't hear anything from Zondervan for like a whole weekend. And as I'm waiting, I start reading the manuscript from the beginning as if I was a first-time reader. And I see the through line, and I'm like, whoa, man. And just in reading it, I can see how God had been working on me and working through the process to bring it all together. Because there's so many moments where I can't believe I'm the one who wrote that. It just seemed too like, no, that's not me. But it is. It's weird. I know it's supernatural. But it's really at the end of the process where I can see how God was working the whole book together. And then to get this email from my publisher, it was just one of the most affirming experiences that I have ever had to feel God and see God move. Now, I know what you're thinking right now, which is, well, Alex, what is this book about? And I don't want to give too much of the book away, but all I will say for right now is that the book is about becoming curious about our inner world, about the shame that we carry, and learning to love the parts of ourselves that we hate the way that God loves those parts of us. And that's all I'm going to say. The last thing I want to share with you is the thought that I shared with my church this Easter. We had a sunrise service where we got together at 6:30 in the morning. Sunrise was scheduled for 6:45. So the idea was that we would get here while it was still dark, and then halfway through the service, as I read the story of the resurrection, the sun would blaze in through the windows, and then we would sing our closing song and all walk outside to the sun rising, which is exactly what happened. It was just, oh man, it was one of the most incredible Easter services I have ever been part of, and that I've ever had the privilege to lead. And I'm so grateful for my community for doing it. The day before Easter, so on Saturday morning, I was reading the story of the death and the resurrection of Jesus, and I read it a few times through all the Gospels. A thought that came into my head is how I am not really the person that I used to be. And I mean, that is a good thing. And in many ways, I'm glad I'm not the person I used to be. But in some ways, I lament the person that I used to be also. You know, like in some ways, I'm glad I'm not immature. I'm glad I'm not insecure. But then there's other parts of me, you know, that are a little bit more childlike, you know, like curiosity, laughter, trustworthy, curious, and more lightweight. And I realized that as I've gone through my life, I've experienced a lot of losses. Like most recently, I felt this huge betrayal from one of my churches, and it had that, and that felt like the loss of a really good friend. Like it felt like a part of me died with that. Um, I've had people that I love, friends die. I've had family members die. I have friendships end, and all across my life, whenever something in my life dies, I feel like a part of me dies with them. And along the way, I'm not who I used to be anymore. You know, I feel a little more burdened. I feel a little more cynical. I'm a little more sad. I'm a little more, maybe that's why I call myself realistic. And as I read the story of the resurrection, I think of the hope that we have that Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians 15, that, you know, all the dead will rise and all things will be restored. And in that resurrection, there's a promise that one day all those people in my life that have died will come back. And the part of me that died with them will also return. There are friendships that have been broken, but that on that day, they will be healed. And that part of me that I lost in that relationship will also be returned to me. There's a burden that life has put on me that has stripped a part of me that is no longer there anymore. But when that burden is lifted at the resurrection, also that part will be returned to me. And I ask God a question. It's like, God, on resurrection morning, will that morning also be the resurrection, not just of my body, but of the person that I used to be? And I heard in the silence of that morning, God tell me yes. That on that morning, not only will our bodies be resurrected, but also along with our bodies, the people that we used to be. You know, we will resurrect with the joy that we once had, with the childlikeness that we once had, with the lightness of heart that we once had. And it makes me all the more thank God for Easter, that in his kindness and his love for us, the Lord restores us with him by his resurrection. My friends, my prayer for you is that you may experience your own resurrection this Eastertide. Thank you for being part of the journey. If you haven't done so yet, leave me a comment, say a word of encouragement, like this video, and subscribe if you haven't yet. I know it's a small thing. I always ask you to do it, but it really helps the channel. Until the next one, love you guys. Blessings.